Chapter 26, Golden-Colored Crystal Core, 2. While this attack was effective against a normal zombie, in front of a level 2 zombie, it was a child play. Before the wooden balls could hit the zombie, they were shattered by 3 metal needles. The zombie looked at them, and with a wave of its rotten arm, the supermarket signboard suddenly flew toward them. Seeing this, another member raised his hand, and an earth wall appeared above them. Bam, crack. The signboard smashed into the earth wall with a loud crash, cracking it instantly. Cough! The man coughed up a mouthful of blood as he struggled to hold back the heavy signboard. He gasped, feeling himself reaching his limit, and squeezed a word out. Run. Hearing this, they quickly moved to the side. The next moment, the earth wall shattered, and the man barely avoided the signboard by jumping back. Bam! The signboard fell to the ground with a heavy thud, sparks of fire flickering as the metal scraped against the pavement. Noticing that attacking with their abilities was useless, Aitg took out his dagger and rushed toward the zombie. Duog. The zombie still refused to let go of Li Yang and raised its leg. With a powerful kick, Aitg was sent flying, slamming into a wall. It all happened in mere seconds. Zhao Lijai quickly assessed their situation and realized that Aitg and his team were not helping at all. Their chances of winning were slim, and the best strategy was to escape. But after expending so much energy fighting this zombie, Zhao Lijai was unwilling to retreat. Thinking about how many soldiers had died at this zombie's hands in her previous life, she swallowed the iron taste in her throat and pressed on. Focusing her energy on her palm, she controlled the water disc to continue attacking the zombie. Its speed increased as it spun faster and faster. The zombie dodged her attacks while fending off Aitg and his teammates. Crack. After several attempts, her water blade finally cracked the zombie's neck. The layer of metal covering its neck shattered, revealing the rotten flesh underneath. As the water disc embedded itself in the zombie's neck, Zhao Lijai clenched her fist, and the water disc turned into liquid instantly. The next moment, the water seeped into the zombie's body, carrying Aitg's thunder with it. With the electricity wreaking havoc inside the zombie, its grip on Li Yang loosened. Seeing this, Aitg quickly rushed over, kicking the zombie in the chest while simultaneously pulling Li Yang away. Bam! The zombie crashed to the ground, struggling to get up. Its mouth opened wide as it let out a silent roar, its black eyes locking onto Zhao Lijai with murderous intent. Zhao Lijai gritted her teeth and withstood the pressure emanating from the zombie. Using her left hand to continue attacking it from the inside, she raised her right arm. The moment she opened her palm, 5 water arrows condensed in less than a second. With a swing of her arm, the water arrows shot forward at high speed, piercing the zombie's head. Stab, 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 stab. Fearing the attack was not enough, she used the last of her energy to transform the water arrows into a water blade. With a flick of her wrist, the water blade sliced through the zombie's neck, striking the exposed area beneath the metal layer. The next second, black blood spurted from the severed neck as the head rolled to the ground. As soon as the zombie was killed, Zhao Lijai coughed up a mouthful of blood and collapsed. The water blade dissolved into a splash of water, soaking the road. Holding her head, she endured the severe headache and nausea, signs of overusing her ability energy. Not far from her, Aitg and his team members sprawled on the ground, covered in injuries. The battle had lasted less than 10 minutes, but it felt as if a century had passed. Aitg pushed himself up and said, Chu Zhimiao, check on Li Yang's condition. The 3 of you go inside and get water and some medicine. Hearing his words, they struggled to their feet and quickly went to carry out their tasks. After splitting the tasks, Aitg dragged his feet and walked toward Zhao Lijai to check on her condition. Seeing that her arms were swollen and her face was pale, he said, Let's go. I will help you to the car. You need to rest and treat your injuries. Feeling his touch, Zhao Lijai pushed his hands away and said, I'm fine. Pushing herself up, She took several deep breaths and suppressed the nausea. After a while, only a headache remained. Although it was painful, it was bearable. Ignoring Pei Yijun's concern, she walked to her car. Opening the door, she unzipped her backpack and took out a bottle of pond water. She quickly drank it in several gulps. After finishing, her headache lessened, and her energy recovered slightly. She grabbed another bottle and drank it. Once she finished the second one, she felt much better and let out a sigh of relief. Her previous boning knife had broken during the fight, so she took out another one from her space. After closing the car door, she walked toward the zombie's head. With a swift motion, she swung her knife, splitting it in half. Black blood and rotten matter spilled onto the ground as she stirred the brain. A moment later, she found a golden-colored crystal core, about the size of a thumbnail. Holding the core, she created a small water ball and used it to clean it. Looking at the shimmering crystal core, a smile finally appeared on her face. Obtaining a level 2 metal-type crystal core was an unexpected but welcome surprise. Although the battle had been dangerous, she had gained a lot. She could feel that after the fight, the barrier of her energy had weakened. If she fought a few more rounds, she might be able to break through to the next level. Chapter 27, Healing-type ability. But the most important thing is that the hidden danger of a level 6 zombie has been eliminated early. Those soldiers who died fighting it would have a chance to live. After resting for a while, she felt much better and walked toward the supermarket. When she reached the entrance, Mo Bingsu blocked her path and said, "You can't go inside." "Why not?" Zhao Lijai asked. "Brother Pei was the one who found this place, so we have the right to take the supplies first," Mo Bingsu replied matter-of-factly. Hearing her words, Zhao Lijai scoffed and said, "I have seen many shameless people, but none as shameless as you." As soon as she finished speaking, she pushed Mo Bingsu aside, opened the door and walked in. Caught off guard, Mo Bingsu fell to the ground with a yelp. She glared at Zhao Lijai's back, gritting her teeth in anger. Not far away, Chu Zhimiao and the others were busy tending to Li Yang's wounds. She was already worried and anxious, so when she heard Mo Bingsu's shameless words, she couldn't hold back any longer. "Mo Bingsu, can't you stop being so annoying?" she asked angrily. "If it weren't for her, all of us might be dead right now. How thick is your skin to stop her from getting supplies?" she asked angrily. Letter 1D487, letter 1D667, letter 1D65A, letter 1D4E, letter 1D500, letter 1D4E. Letter 1D658, letter 1D490, letter 1D4AT. This time, the men didn't side with Mo Bingsu. One of them said, "Next time, it's better not to bring her. She didn't contribute anything and only caused trouble." The man with the wood ability looked at her angrily and said, "No matter how weak we are, we still fight for our chance to survive." But she actually hid and didn't help at all. When facing danger, at least we can protect ourselves and not burden our teammates. She is just an ordinary person. Not only is she a burden, but she also keeps making trouble for us, another man added. Hearing this, Mo Bingsu's heart filled with hatred. She looked at them, then at Pei Yijun. When she met his cold gaze, a chill ran down her spine. She understood that if she did nothing, this would be the last time she could join them. After hesitating for a moment, she stood up and said, "I am also an ability user." Chu Zhimiao sneered and replied, "I think your best ability is acting like a green tea bitch." "Chu Zhimiao, if you keep provoking me, don't blame me for cutting off our friendship," Mo Bingsu said angrily. Chu Zhimiao crossed her arms and said, "Even if you wanted to, there was never any friendship to begin with." Rubbing his aching forehead, Pei Yijun said, "Enough." He looked at his team and ordered, "Go check the supplies and load them into the cars. We can't waste any more time here." Although they were still worried about Li Yang, they could only follow orders and enter the supermarket. Pei Yijun then looked at Chu Zhimiao and added, "You go too." "But I..." Before she could finish, Pei Yijun cut her off, "Go." Sensing his annoyance, Chu Zhimiao lowered her gaze for a moment, then let go of Li Yang's hand and walked into the supermarket. Once they were alone, Pei Yijun turned to Mo Bingsu and asked, "What ability do you have?" Hope flickered in her eyes as she quickly said, "Brother Pei, I can heal Li Yang's injuries." Pei Yijun raised an eyebrow and said, "A healing type ability." Mo Bingsu nodded eagerly and walked over to Li Yang, taking his hand. A moment later, a soft light enveloped their clasped hands. Standing nearby, Pei Yijun watched as the scratches and small wounds on Li Yang's body slowly healed. He wasn't sure if his friend had internal injuries, but his external wounds were indeed healing, albeit slowly. Glancing at Mo Bingsu, he thought to himself, "Looks like she is not completely useless after all." Inside the supermarket, Chu Zhimao and her teammates used trolleys to move instant noodles and water. While loading supplies, they also grabbed some protein bars and bread. As they ate, they continued loading the supplies into the SUV and Jeep. They were too focused on their tasks to notice that the section containing rice, flour, oils, and seasonings had been completely emptied. Meanwhile, Jiao Lijai was collecting supplies from the warehouse. As she emptied it, she finally understood why there were no people or zombies in this area. In the corner of the warehouse, piles of bones and rotten flesh were stacked. It seemed the mutated zombie had not only eaten human flesh, but had also devoured its own kind. No wonder it had reached the bottleneck of level 2 in just a few days after the apocalypse. Consuming crystal cores from other zombies also benefited them. This was why, just a few years into the apocalypse, most zombies had already evolved, and the lowest-ranked ones were at level 2. Cannibalism was one of the harsh laws of survival in the apocalypse. Even humans killed each other to obtain crystal cores, let alone soulless zombies. It took her 10 minutes to finish collecting everything in the warehouse. When she came out, the area where the mineral water and instant noodles had been stored was already half emptied. Instead of heading to the food section, she walked toward the medicine and women's products aisle. When no one was looking, she quickly collected the medicines and sanitary pads. In a future where gauze and cotton pads were no longer available, sanitary pads would prove their value during medical treatment. After she was done, she moved to the snacks section and collected everything. A half wall in the middle of the supermarket separated her from Chu Zhimao and the others, perfect for hiding her actions. Once she had emptied the shelves, she walked over to them and said, "The warehouse and the back area are empty." Hearing this, one of the men frowned and went to check. When he returned 10 minutes later, his face was pale. He shook his head at his friend and said nothing. Chapter 28, Invitation. Seeing his reaction, Jiao Lijai knew he had seen what was in the warehouse. Without drawing attention to herself, she grabbed a trolley and started collecting supplies. As she reached for items, she secretly stored part of them in her space. If there were several boxes of candy, she would place 2 in her trolley and discreetly store the rest. Though this method took longer, it ensured she didn't attract suspicion. When Chu Zhimao and her team finished filling up Li Yang's SUV, she noticed Jiao Lijai loading 2 trolleys of supplies into her truck bed. Walking over, she offered, "Jiao Lijai, we are almost done. How about I help you transport your supplies?" Jiao Lijai smiled and said, "Thanks." Chu Zhimao was happy she didn't reject her like before. After Jiao Lijai had saved her and her friends' lives, she sincerely wanted to befriend her. Someone who was brave enough to risk her life for strangers was worthy of her trust and friendship. Unaware of Chu Zhimao's thoughts, Jiao Lijai pushed her trolley back inside the supermarket and continued collecting supplies. With Chu Zhimao's help, her truck bed was nearly full in no time. At this point, they were the only ones still loading supplies. Before long, Jiao Lijai realized she was the only one left inside the supermarket. Li Yang had woken up, and Chu Zhimao was outside talking to him. Not wanting to waste the opportunity, she quickly collected the remaining supplies, leaving only a small amount on the shelves. It took her 20 minutes to fill her truck bed, back seat, and a hidden compartment under the passenger seat. Before getting into her car, she grabbed her backpack and walked back into the supermarket. As she passed Pei Yijun and his team, she handed a bottle of water to Li Yang and said, "Here, drink some water." Li Yang was stunned by her sudden kindness and hesitated to react. Seeing this, Chu Zhimiao quickly took the bottle and said, "Thank you, Lijai." "You are welcome." Jiao Lijai entered the supermarket and filled her backpack to the brim. When she looked outside, she saw that no one intended to return inside. With a wave of her hand, she emptied the remaining supplies, leaving only bare shelves and 4 walls behind. When she came out, she saw Mo Bingsu had fainted and been helped into Pei Yijun's jeep by one of the men. She glanced at her, then at Li Yang, and a thought flashed through her mind. "No wonder, so that's why," she muttered to herself. As she was lost in thought, someone patted her shoulder. Turning around, she saw Pei Yijun smiling at her. "Senior, do you need something?" she asked. Pei Yijun observed her for a moment before saying, "Do you want to join my team? My father sent a group of soldiers to bring me back to Jiangning City. If you come with me, I can guarantee you a safe place to live." Hearing his offer, Jiao Lijai shook her head and replied, "Thank you, senior, but I have my own plans." Hearing this, Pei Yijun didn't insist and said, "That's a pity. If you ever change your mind, you can come to Jiangning City and find me." "Okay," Jiao Lijai said casually, without any intention to go find him. After their brief conversation, they both got into their cars and drove back to the university. As she drove, Jiao Lijai reflected on Pei Yijun's words. Maybe she could follow the soldiers to leave this place. Linen University was near the city center, and if she wanted to escape, she would have to pass through heavily populated areas. With the soldiers' protection, the risk would be significantly lower. It wasn't a bad idea to join them temporarily. Having made up her mind, she pushed the thought aside. She was exhausted, and with a headache, she didn't want to think anymore. Thanks to them clearing the road when they went out, the return trip took only half the usual time, since the road was unblocked by cars. Upon entering the university gates, Pei Yijun and his team drove directly to the lecture hall building, planning to park near the entrance. This would make it easier to move supplies and allow for a quicker evacuation in case of an emergency. Following behind them, Jiao Lijai thought for a moment before deciding to park near the lake instead. So, before they reached the building, she suddenly made a sharp turn and went in another direction. Inside the car, one of Pei Yijun's team members noticed this and said, "Brother Pei, that person went another way." Glancing at the rearview mirror, Pei Yijun replied, "No need to bother with her. She is only tagging along temporarily." The man felt it was a pity not to recruit someone as strong as her, but said nothing. Since they planned to return to the supermarket tomorrow for the rest of the supplies, she might choose to join them again. Meanwhile, Jiao Lijai found a secluded spot and parked her car. After ensuring no one was around, she waved her hand and stored the vehicle in her space. Then, she headed toward the lecture hall building. Although she could continue staying in the guards' room, it would be difficult to keep an eye on Pei Yijun's movements. Since she planned to follow them, it was better to stay close. Who knew? If luck was on her side, she might even find an opportunity to kill Mo Bingsu. 30 minutes later, she arrived at the lecture hall and immediately sensed something was wrong. Standing outside, she checked the situation inside and saw Pei Yijun and his team surrounded by Teacher Cao and the students. Judging from the tense atmosphere, the confrontation was about supplies. Inside the hall, Pei Yijun stood with his team, silently staring at the students and Teacher Cao's team. In front of them, Teacher Cao and his group held weapons, ready for a fight. Chapter 29, Sneak Attack. Meeting Pei Yijun's calm gaze, Teacher Cao raised his chin and said, "Pei Yijun, this place is my territory now. If you want to stay, hand over your supplies." "Teacher Cao, it seems you have already forgotten the lesson I taught you. It's only been a few hours and you have lost your memory. Indeed, old people are forgetful," Li Yang sneered. Hearing his words, Teacher Cao recalled the punch he received from Li Yang and felt his stomach throb with pain again. He glared at Li Yang and said, "I was caught off guard by your sneak attack. Do you really think you could beat me in a fair fight?" The moment she heard this, Chu Zhimiao burst out laughing and asked, "Fair fight? Teacher Cow, do you think zombies will give you time to prepare yourself? Gritting his teeth, he glared at them and asked, You think I don't dare to kill you? If you dare, then do it. Why waste time talking? Li Yang provoked. Although he appeared calm and strong, he was actually at his weakest. Even though his external wounds had healed, the internal injuries remained. At this moment, he felt as if his organs were burning, and the rusty taste of blood lingered in his throat. Every now and then, he forced himself to swallow it, refusing to show weakness. Noticing the cold sweat on his palms, Chu Zhimiao glanced at him worriedly. Standing beside them, Pei Yijun also took note of his friend's condition. They were exhausted and injured in the battle with mutant zombies. If they fight, their chances of winning are slim. After a brief silence, Pei Yijun said, Since this place has already been taken, we will find somewhere else. When he finished his words, he turned and walked toward the door. Seeing this, a woman standing beside Teacher Cow stepped forward and blocked their way while saying, Who said you could leave? Pei Yijun narrowed his eyes and said, Move, don't make me hurt you. Instead of backing off, the woman licked her lips and said, Oh, look at you. I have long wanted to taste someone like you. I wonder if your performance in bed is as good as your looks. As soon as she spoke, a sweet scent filled the air, and Pei Yijun suddenly felt dizzy. He shook his head, trying to stay conscious, but within moments he collapsed. Li Yang and his team were surprised by this situation. Staring at the woman, Li Yang asked angrily, What did you do to Brother Pei? Seeing how angry he was, the woman chuckled and said, Don't worry, it will be your turn next. What the hell are you? Before Li Yang could finish his words, dizziness overtook him, and he fainted. Within 5 minutes, Pei Yijun and his entire team had collapsed, one after another. Seeing this, Teacher Cow walked over and kicked Li Yang's stomach as he asked angrily, Didn't you talk big just now? Why are you lying on the ground now? Damn you. He kicked him a few more times before pulling the woman into his arms, squeezing her bottom as he said, Well done. Brother Cow, don't forget your promise, the woman said coquettishly. Don't worry, you can pick what you want first, Teacher Cow assured her before pressing a kiss to her lips. After a while, he let her go, turned to his men and ordered, Tie them up and keep an eye on them. The rest of you, move the supplies into the small room. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up, and they quickly rushed to the entrance to get the supplies. Zhao Lijai watched from outside the building, her gaze lingering on the woman in Teacher Cow's embrace for a moment before she quietly slipped away. Since Pei Yijun and his team were safe for now, there was no need for her to confront this group. Once the soldiers arrived to pick him up, they would have their own way of dealing with these people. As she tried to find a place to spend the night, Zhao Lijai's mind was thinking about the next step. Before the soldiers arrived, she had to take care of that woman. Her ability was too troublesome. If she sneak attacked the soldiers, then it would be hard for them to escape. What's more, her ability will become even more dangerous if left unchecked. With that woman's character, there is no guarantee that she won't become her enemy in the future. With her mind made up, Zhao Lijai climbed a large tree near the lecture hall building. The tree had a diameter of over 2 meters and was one of the oldest in Linen University. Its thick, sturdy branches and dense leaves made it an ideal hiding spot. She climbed until she reached a well-covered branch, then surveyed the area. After a moment, she nodded, feeling satisfied with her choice. From nearly 4 meters above the ground, she had a clear view of the situation while remaining hidden among the leaves. Leaning against the trunk, she closed her eyes to rest while checking her space. She glanced at the supplies scattered across the grassland inside and began sorting them by type. Once everything was organized, she moved the supplies into the house. Next, she took a pack of dried corn and soaked it in a basin of pond water, allowing it to absorb moisture before planting it in the black soil tomorrow. By the time she finished, an hour had passed. Looking at the sun setting on the western horizon, she sighed and took out a loaf of bread and a carton of strawberry milk from her backpack. Ability users had significantly larger appetites than ordinary people due to their energy consumption. This was also why, in the future, they preferred eating mutant animals and edible mutant plants. Although the taste was worse than regular food, these provided more energy, allowing them to eat less while still feeling full and recovering their strength. Chapter 30, Physical Ability. However, because of the amount of energy contained in the mutant animal and plants, with the addition of the risk involved to acquire the food, the price of mutant animals and edible mutant plants was also several times higher than normal food. After she had finished eating, she closed her eyes and went asleep. At the same time, Jin Zuyin checked his watch and frowned. It was only 5 o'clock in the afternoon, yet the sky had already started to darken. As he drove, Zhang Yuan said, "Captain, we need to find a place to spend the night." "MHMM," Jin Zuyin replied while checking the map. In the back seat, Qin Luzi sat in a daze, focusing his mind on the map inside his head. After a moment, he said, "Vice Captain, there is a villa 200 meters to the left." Hearing this, Zhang Yuan asked, "Old Qin, have you been here before?" "Yeah." Jin Zuyin's eyes flickered at his reply. The two of them had known each other for a long time, and he was certain that his friend had never been to Linen. So how did he know about the villa? While Jin Zuyin was still pondering this, Zhang Yuan spotted the villa and exclaimed, "Old Qin, this place is huge. Does it belong to your relatives or friends?" "Kind of." Knowing that Qin Luzi was an introvert and might still be tired, Zhang Yuan didn't ask any more questions. He parked the armored vehicle on the roadside, picked up the radio, and said, "We will check the area. The rest of you, stay alert and guard the supplies." Not long after, he received a reply from the radio, "Understood." After giving the order, he grabbed his saber and stepped out of the vehicle. Jin Zuyin closed the map, got out of the vehicle, and walked toward the gate with Zhang Yuan, with his longsword in hand. Letter 1D4 1F, letter 1D563, letter 1D556, letter 1D4 1E, letter 1D430, letter 1D556, letter 1D5F0, letter 1D428, letter 1D426. When they reached the villa's gate, Jin Zuyin glanced at the lock. With a flick of his finger, a wisp of black flame shot toward it. The moment the flame touched the metal, it sizzled, and within minutes the lock melted away. Zhang Yuan's eyes widened when he saw this and said, "Captain, your fire is insanely strong." Jin Zuyin gave him a glance but said nothing, stepping into the villa with Zhang Yuan following behind. As they scanned the surroundings, Qin Luzi approached them and said, "Captain, there are 8 zombies inside." Standing beside them, he continued, 3 in the living room, 2 in the kitchen, and the rest are locked in the second-floor master bedroom. Noticing their questioning gazes, he pointed to his head and added, "For some reason, I can see them here." "How is it possible? Is it part of your wind-type ability?" Zhang Yuan asked curiously. Ads by Pub Future. "I don't know, but I can feel 2 types of energy inside my body, so it shouldn't be my wind-type ability," Qin Luzi replied while shaking his head. Jin Zuyin frowned when he heard his words, recalling the crystal core he had given his friend. Since his wind ability awakened because of the core, did that mean his original ability was psychic? Coming to this conclusion, he looked at Qin Luzi and asked, "Do you feel unwell after awakening your abilities?" "Other than being really hungry, I feel fine," Qin Luzi answered. Jin Zuyin relaxed slightly at his words. Feeling hungry was normal for ability users since their body's metabolism was higher than that of ordinary people. Obtaining an ability by consuming a crystal core was extremely risky. No one ever attempted it after they awakened their ability power, so he wasn't sure if a wind ability would clash with a psychic one. "If anything feels wrong, tell me immediately," Jin Zuyin said solemnly after a moment of silence. Qin Luzi noticed his serious expression and felt something was off, but he kept his thoughts to himself and nodded, "Understood." After a brief conversation, the 3 of them entered the villa. Thanks to Qin Luzi's warning, they already knew the zombies' locations and prepared for an ambush before opening the door. Roar! The moment the door swung open, 3 zombies lunged at Jin Zuyin, their mouths wide open, revealing their sharp teeth. Before they could get close, Jin Zuyan flicked his fingers, sending out 3 wisps of black flame. The instant the flames touched the zombies, they ignited as if drenched in gasoline, engulfing them in fire. Despite being burned by the black flame, the zombies felt no pain and continued to walk toward them. Seeing this, Zhang Yuan wasted no time, swinging his blade multiple times and slicing off their heads. The black flames had weakened the zombies, turning their bones brittle like charcoal, making it easy for him to cut off their heads. 5 minutes later, the zombies were reduced to nothing but piles of black ash. "The other 2 are coming," Qin Luzi warned. Moments later, they heard the familiar roars of zombies from the kitchen. Since they would be staying the night, Jin Zuyan opted to burn them to keep the place clean. He raised his hand, and 2 black flames shot into the zombies' heads, burning their brains from the inside out. In less than a minute, the zombies fell to the ground with a thud, with flames engulfing their bodies from head to toe. Zhang Yuan looked at the scene, swallowed his saliva, and said, "Captain, you are so awesome." "It's nothing," Jin Zuyan replied calmly. Looking at the corpse of the zombie, Zhang Yuan felt that burning the brain directly was indeed the most efficient move, but it was also very cruel. He couldn't imagine how painful it would be to have his brain burned from the inside out. Just thinking about this possibility sent chills down his spine. Once they cleared the lower floor, they moved to the second floor. As soon as they stepped onto the second floor, they heard loud banging coming from the master bedroom.